I recently watched Scott Galloway's interview on the Jay Shetty podcast about investing and wealth building. And he asked a question that I thought would make people actually stop and think about how they're actually making money. He asked, if your active income stopped due to some sort of unforeseen circumstances, like maybe an illness or an accident, how long could you actually sustain your current lifestyle? And in this video, this is one of the issues that we're going to discuss to actually boost your financial understanding and security. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Jeff Anzalone, a dentist on a mission to get you to the point where work is optional. Download my free passive income training, links below this video. Let's get into number one. Let's talk about what he talks about, and that there is a big gap in financial literacy. I don't know about you, they didn't teach me anything about money or finances in school, all right? And despite years of specialized education, most high-income professionals, doctors, dentists, attorneys, people like that, they actually find themselves unprepared when it comes to money management. Why? Because think about it. We receive little to no formal training about managing money or building wealth during our entire school years, even though, this is just crazy, even though earning money is the primary goal of what you're going to school for, to get a job, right? So for instance, let's take examples that I'm going to use. I've changed the name to protect the innocent, but these are actually real conversations I've had with people, okay? Dr. Rachel, 42-year-old cardiologist. She had done really well up until the point that we had talked in her medical practice. But when she came to me, she was finding herself really struggling to manage her financial assets in the correct way. She makes great money, but her financial status, she told me, didn't really reflect it. Now, again, she's 42. She'd actually accumulated about $200,000 in debt, but at 42, only had 250 grand saved for retirement. Well below sort of the recommended range for her age, anywhere from 800,000 to $1 million. She only had 250 grand as a cardiologist, okay? So today we're gonna start to bridge, so to speak, these knowledge gaps to hopefully equip you with the information that you need to navigate from where you are now to where you need to be. And again, some of this material I got from the Scott Galloway interview, all right? So let's talk about taking control of your financial education, all right? Because again, I know that you probably didn't get that in school. So you can either educate yourself or do what most people do, pay somebody to manage your finances without even really knowing if their strategies are gonna work, or here's the worst part, not knowing if their strategies are in your best interest. So it's important to note that most of the advisors out there, they're not, and I know this from personal experience, they're not going to suggest you invest in any type of passive income opportunities like real estate, something that's outside of the quote stock market, because, and I hate to say this, but it does not benefit their fee-based structure. Basically, even though if they see you would really benefit from this, they're not going to recommend it because they don't get paid. To me, that's crazy that exists out there, but it is what it is. I'm not anti-stock market. I do tell people to max out 401k, especially if they're going to get a match. But I have to listen to see what they're struggling with. What are their problems? Is it passive income? Is it burnout? Is it taxes? And then recommend those different things. Okay, but again, fee-based financial advisors, they don't want anything cutting into their fees, so they're not going to recommend typically what's the best for you. And unfortunately, that's just how the system works. So, and again, unless you take charge of your financial situation, you're probably going to be at risk of somebody else taking advantage of you. So what can you take on your own? So here's about 10 steps, again, that I personally do, or I know, but I also took from that podcast from Scott Galloway, of how to start managing your financial education effectively, all right? And we just talked about the first one, self-education. Educate yourself about personal finance, okay? Start with the basics by reading books, watching these types of videos, listening to podcasts, and just really focus on just getting, again, I I don't know where you are in your financial situation, your financial education, but get some sort of baseline, okay? And if you want to learn more about investments or taxes, that sort of thing, and then sort of gravitate towards there. Number two, and probably everything that I'm going to tell you, you've heard before. It's just most of the time people don't take action. Create a budget. Know what's coming in and what's going out. Basically, understand your income and your expenses. This is going to help you manage your money more effectively, and it's going to help you in something else that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Number three, you need to assess your financial starting point. This is going to look at where you are as far as your assets and your liabilities to get a very clear starting point to start whatever journey you're on. If you're right out of school, if you've been out for 15 years, it doesn't matter. Right now, look at your assets. What's putting money in your pocket? What are your liabilities? What's taking money out of your pocket? All right. And then, and I can't stress this enough, you have to set, and here's the important part, very clear financial goals. Not, I want to be financially free in 15 years, okay? So you actually have to get very clear and specific. I want you to, again, you know what's best for you. Not me, not your mama, not your financial advisor. You know what's best for your financial success. So with that being said, you have to define what financial success looks like for you. Such as, I want to get to the point that work is optional in 10 years or less. Or I want to retire at 55. Or I would like to have $10,000 a month in passive income in 5 years, or whatever. Maybe you want to travel 5 times a year once you become an empty nester. Whatever it is, write it down, and then you start working towards it. Number 5, I want you to start exploring passive income opportunities. I want you to learn about the different types of passive income avenues out there. Particularly my favorite is real estate syndications, which is great for somebody that has a busy high income professional, makes a lot of money, but is going to have money to do both invest in the stock market and in something that makes them passive income. Okay, this is a great hands-off way to begin earning passive income. All right. Number 6, again, this is Galloway's list. You can take this one if you want to do it or not, but he recommends, especially for people that either don't really know much about money or just they don't want to deal with it. Some people are like, look, I know what to do, but I don't want to fool with it. Okay, consult a fiduciary only financial advisor. Get professional advice, and again, if this is just over your head, at least have somebody that's gonna maybe help you write out your goals and to start you down the path. Okay, again, make sure that they're fiduciary to guarantee, or supposedly they're supposed to guarantee, that their advice is in your best interest. I know there's a lot of them out there that claim that they're fiduciary and they don't do that, but at least you've narrowed it down to those that are supposed to be like that. Again, if you're not confident in your own abilities, starting with somebody else can get you at least on the right track until you get to the point where you can be a little bit better with your finances. Number 7, I want you to start to understand the different investment vehicles that are out there. Get to know different opportunities, different options like stocks, bonds, real estate, whether it's active real estate, passive real estate, and then how each of those could potentially contribute to your financial plan. Speaking of financial plan, I want you to get to the point where you're regularly reviewing, at least on a yearly basis, your financial plan. Monitor it. You can go online and monitor it, whether you have an advisor or not. You can do that. You can adjust your own strategies as needed to keep you on track to your goals. Because I can guarantee you right now, what your goals are for the next 10 years are probably going to change. Number 9, I want you to stay informed or stay up to date on the ever-changing tax laws. Hire a CPA or tax strategist. You've got to have one of these. It's important. Preferably really one who understands investing in alternative investments outside the stock market, like real estate. Somebody like this is going to help keep you up to date with changes on all the tax laws and financial regulations that could affect your investments and your overall financial strategy. And last but not least, I can't stress this enough, network. Join financial groups. This can be in person, this can be online. Go to workshops, go to seminars, get in these online communities. People that are there for a reason. They want to better themselves. They want to get more financial education. All right. And I can guarantee you, if you do these, that's going to help you build a solid foundation in financial literacy. It's going to help you make better decisions. All right, so this is something that you've heard about before. This is going to be and again, Galloway talked about this in the podcast, the magic of compound interest. So this hypothetical, this is a person, they've decided to start putting aside 40 grand at the age of 30, put it in a tax advantage retirement account, and assuming an average return of 7% a year, by the age of 65, you have around 5.5 million due to the power of compounding interest, where interest earns more interest month after month, year after year. Now, if this person were to actually start investing just 10 years later, at the age of 40, the final amount at age 65 would be a lot less, $2.5 million. This example really highlights the critical importance. If this is the path if this is your only path that you're on, which I hope is not, this was the path that I was on, relying on the stock market, wanting to work till 65. But again, if this is your path and this is the path that you're on, it really highlights the importance of timing and investments. So the earlier you can start, and think about if you have kids. I have a 20 and an 18-year-old. I started when they were born, just a little bit each month, and just the power that has grown really impacts the end result. Speaking of end result, let's talk a little bit about diversification. Okay, diversification, it's not just some term that's just blindly tossed around. It's a really smart way to more so protect your money than to make more money. Okay, imagine it like this. So instead of putting all of your eggs just in one basket, you spread them out into different baskets. Okay, I've got a friend, Dr. Johnson, he's an orthopedic surgeon. This is when he got out, he was of training, he was very knowledgeable about this, and he already knew about stocks, bonds, real estates, and even some of the startups and venture capital. He already knew about all this. So he knew exactly the allocation he wanted to do. So, and the thing was, when the stock market goes down, not all of his money is affected because, again, he's got some money in real estate and other areas that don't rely on the stock market. And this mix that he's got helps him keep his finances stable when one of the markets out there aren't performing that well. So by Dr. Johnson spreading out his investments, he makes sure that a problem in one area doesn't completely ruin his entire financial plan, which again, if you're only in the stock market, it can really ruin it if you're getting ready to retire and it tanks. Okay? Diversification, think of it like having multiple safety nets, which is especially useful if you're a high income earner who wants to keep their money steadily growing year after year. Doesn't matter so much what the economy does. And unfortunately, that's how most people are invested. So let's talk about my favorite asset class, and that's real estate. It not only offers a steady stream of passive income, but also offers unbelievable tax advantages. All right. So let's talk about Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee earns $400,000 a year. You make $400,000 a year, you're going to pay higher taxes, right? So probably the highest tax rate. He was in 35% tax break. So his tax liability would have been around 140 grand, okay? On his active income, on his doctor income. Now, let's look at some of the different passive income from real estate, the tax benefits, depreciation, all right? So he actually started investing in real estate. So he could use depreciation from his rental properties to offset. He had $50,000. So he had $50,000 in rents and rental income. So he could take the depreciation from the property to offset that rental income. That's a very common practice for real estate investors. So it reduces his taxable income from these properties to zero. That's huge. So he has besides his W-2 doctor income, has a completely different income stream coming in that is pretty much passive, because he has a manager dealing with it, but it's tax-free. So this strategic use of depreciation not only shields his rental income from taxes, but it also, think about his overall financial strategy. It's enhancing it by really lowering his tax burden compared to his active income. So you can actually accelerate your path to financial freedom once you understand this, and then you can start guiding yourself on how to do it. If you really want to step it up, think about being a real estate professional. This works best for if you have, he's working full time. If he has a part-time working or a non-working spouse who can get the real estate professional tax status, I have plenty of videos and articles on that. Then not only can he use the depreciation to offset his rents, he can also use the depreciation to offset his $140,000 tax liability. Think of it from a time perspective. If you take 400 grand and you subtract $140,000, let me do my math here. I'm gonna do my old school math. So he's basically taking home $260,000. He's working full time to make 260 grand. All right, if he were to become a real estate professional or his spouse, real estate professional, you may say, what's a real estate professional? You have to actively manage property, and you have to spend at least, this is IRS, at least around 750 hours a year, which equates to roughly around 15 hours a week actively. And again, these things can change, but let's see, let me make sure I do my math right. So 750 hours a year comes up to being roughly 15 hours a week managing the property. And then also you have to spend more than half of your time managing your real estate property. It's hard to do that as a full-time position. That's why you get the part-time working or the non-working spouse to do it. Now he's able to use the depreciation from his properties to potentially offset the taxes, so now he has $260,000 he's making, not paying any taxes on it. But then what he could do is say, okay, well, I can lower my time by about a third. So now I don't have to work, and now I can go to part-time. So if he's 5 days a week, he can go to 3.5 days a week and still make the 260 grand. That's the thing. It's not so much about the money, it's about the time. It frees up your time. Okay? So hopefully this opens your eyes, these different things, on all the different ways that you can start building wealth out there. It's not just working, making more, paying more taxes. It doesn't matter what your income. They don't teach you any of this stuff in school. All right? Now, if you're ready, and hopefully this has got you excited, if you're ready to start learning more about how you can get passive income to free up your time, then check out my favorite investment in this next video. I'll see you there.